Game. Blouses.
Week number 1 is in the books officially as of right now. It is very late. I'm sorry. I know my voice is probably dog shit by now, but we're gonna give it my I'm gonna give it my best shot here. First of all, we're gonna get into the league specific stuff in just a moment. I wanted to cover some other news and other things that have just been bugging me about these first few games. So we're going to get into a few of those things before we get into the rundown of wins, losses, our power rankings, which I'll explain a little bit later, and our top performers of the week. We'll go into the bottom of the performance in a later episode, but we won't spend too much time on that because we don't like a lot of negativity here. So we're gonna jump right into it. First and foremost, man, light the fucking beam. Oh my god, that energy in that building is incredible. The Lakers coming off of another loss. LeBron almost did it. Keegan Murray had a defensive breakdown on the corner that did not look like it was a 19-year-old against a 38-year-old. That was insane. LeBron blows right past him for the tying layup that sends it into overtime, 115 all. And Kings were playing without Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox in the overtime period, and they still came out on top. It's dude, I'm telling you, I'm betting on the hot hand. I like the Kings. They're young and they're ready to go. They're hungry. Lit the beam tonight. It is Sunday night. Games for the first week are over. We have some remaining undefeated teams. We have some remaining defeated teams. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to remain that way for the longest time. So let's get right into it. I just want to hit this right off the bat because as a Magic fan, starting to get a little nervous, a little shaky. I don't think it's time yet for fantasy managers or Magic fans because, I'm a catastrophe thinker, as we've covered on the pod before. I don't think it's time to hit the Paolo panic button, but it's damn close. I'm getting a little nervous watching his performances over the past couple of weeks or a couple of games, excuse me. And the thing that rookies have a hard time reevaluating in the sophomore season is a lot of times, the first time they see you in a season, which could maybe one and only in their rookie season, or it could be somebody's healthy, somebody's not defensively that could be matched up against you, and it shakes everything up. And just you're unprepared. You don't know a lot about this guy. All you know about him is what he's done in college or what he's done in the last 7 days in the NBA, which is a very small sample size. Now, what you get in the sophomore season is you have teams that are prepared for what is happening. You have teams that are understanding of the style of play, what spaces he likes to operate in, the team that he is surrounded by. It's a very familiar situation for some people. And again, very small sample size. We're only 2 games in, 2-0, 80 more for a perfect season. But I would be getting a little nervous if I drafted Paolo a little high, like most of us did in ESPN leagues. They are, they had him projected going a few rounds higher than his overall ESPN rank. The average draft position, the ADP was skyrocketed. I almost bit. I was tempted. I probably would have if he was still around, to be honest with you. But as of right now, I'm kind of glad I didn't make that pick. Severely underperforming right now, but I think once he gets in a groove, keep betting the under. It's going to take some time. Another thing that I'd love to see, I know, I already mentioned LeBron again, so we're going to do it. It's ESPN over here. The Suns game on Thursday night was, I haven't seen him take over an end of a game like that out of necessity since those days in Cleveland where he was just like, give me the fucking ball and get out of the way. It was incredible. He's so old to be doing that, and they're still allowing it to happen. Obviously they put the cap at his minutes of 28 to 30 minutes. And Darvin Ham was like, we cannot take him out of the game right now. He's rolling. Let's give him the ball. Just let's make it happen. And the as Colin Cowherd would call him, the McDonald's ice cream machine, Anthony Davis did show up, which I'm not a big Colin Cowherd guy, but that's one of the best comparisons I think I've ever heard of Anthony Davis. When he's on, it's great. But when, most of the time it's on the mend and not performing to its full potential and ability. So shout out to all those McDonald's ice cream machines that are working. Um, yeah, he had a great game too. The Suns went down. They were without Book and Beal. So two out of the three guys that we're all supposed to be excited to see are all of a sudden, they're already out. And that's not a great sign if you are a Phoenix Suns fan. However, I will say this. Durant, fantasy owners who have Durant, like this guy here, I'm psyched right now because he kind of has to carry the load. And he put up 39 on Thursday night. He had a great game. Very efficient. Like I said, after the first game, it was a very small sample size. I don't think he's going to be like that the remainder of the season, and he's proven me correct. Thank God, I got something right on here. He's normally a very efficient player. I was worried about the efficiency long term when I saw the other two guys go out. However, he has corrected that. It looks like everything is fine. He's gelling with some of the younger guys, which is a little bit of a surprise to me because you know him. I mean, it's a tough situation. So I don't know what's going on with my voice. I'm very nasally. I apologize. Yeah, but I think without Book and Beal out there, Durant, if you're a fantasy manager that has Durant, you're in good shape right now because he's gonna get the majority of the touches, unless they completely blow the doors off of some team like they did to the Jazz on Saturday night. And you'll see his minutes decrease, but he still put up a very efficient 24 points, and was knocking him down from the line, dishing him out, and got a couple boards in there too. So he's looking nice. Speaking of the Book and Beal thing, I have an issue already with these resting things going on. What are we resting for in the third game? You're making $50 million a year. What are we resting for, Jimmy Butler? Why are we on the bench? Just fucking play these guys. I have a huge problem with that because I get it. You don't like what they did to you, whatever. My time in Chicago, Philly, skip a team, whatever that bullshit was. He quite literally skipped them again. He hasn't played them in 2 years, and he won't. I believe he's refusing to play against these guys out of some petty bullshit that happened to him. And I can tell you that there's not many people that enjoy revenge games more than pro athletes. I mean, obviously, everyone wants a revenge game. Everyone performs well in a revenge game. At least the dogs do. But I don't like it. I think that there's ways around this resting thing. Obviously, the rules are if it's a nationally televised game, you're not allowed to rest. I get that. But I think there needs to be a bigger crackdown on this. I think 65 games is pretty fucking generous. And if you're already resting for what you think is going to be the playoffs, 3 games in, I mean, what are we doing here? Are we already preparing for a back-to-back in the first week of the season? It's crazy to me that this is a thing. And with the stipulations of the resting being that you can't rest a star player, which is in the I guess the rules of the league in terms of what a star player dictates is any all NBA or all-star in the last 3 years. Jimmy qualifies as that. So if that Timberwolves game, which it won't be because it's Minnesota, no shade to Minnesota. It's just a team that they're not going to put on ESPN a lot. It's not going to be a nationally televised game, so you can take advantage of that. I think there's going to be a lot of that this season. I like the rule. I like that we're incentivizing players to play, and I appreciate that. But there's going to be a problem with some of this when there's, I don't know, when you're playing Washington on League Pass or on NBA TV or something like that. So, obviously you still want those guys to play, but they're going to find ways around it. That's just how it goes. What else do we got? Okay. I saw something today and I immediately wanted to stop my fucking car and drive to the Hard Rock and put my entire life savings on this. And I should have done it. But OKC, can we relax a little bit about Oklahoma City? Can we fucking chill? I get it. They're a young and exciting team. Josh Giddey, Jack does this to me every time. He says Guy Gillis all the time, and I hear it in my head, and I want to say that, but that's not it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, and Chet, very young, very exciting. It's a cool team. Lou Dort, Jalen Williams. I am a big fan of this team. I think that they're gonna play really well. They're gonna beat a lot of teams that are surprisingly good. or surprisingly by a lot, I would say. They have a very well balanced team. However, today they were set at against Denver at -3.5. That's crazy to do that this early on. I don't care about home court advantage in OKC. You're playing against the champions. You're telling me that these guys who have played together for 2 whole games in a real NBA season are going to compete against the greatest team in the league right now, arguably the best 1 to 5. And I mean, come on, dude. If we didn't punch that, I don't know what we're doing. It feels like that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that Denver only has to beat them by 4 points. They're all kids, and we're talking about one of the best players in the world with the best other 4 guys around him, in coming off of an NBA championship with a great coach and I mean, not as deep of a bench as before, but still, they have some guys that can perform off the bench. 4 points, that's all we needed. I almost turned my car around when I heard it. I was I mean, let's relax. Okay, I get it. I know we're excited. I know we're all in on OKC, and Chet Holmgren had 7 blocks the other night, and everybody's going fucking bonkers about it, but let's pump the brakes, okay? Okay, we're back. The other thing that I was going to cover in terms of impressive stats are the fact that Luka is just unbelievable this year, and the Mavs look good. Not as exciting as I would like them to be. The Mavs are going to do this shit that they did last year, where they're going to compete and they're going to make a lot of games interesting or more interesting than they need to be. Call it lack of depth. Call it leaving your scouting report on the hotel room floor. Call it, call it a hat on a hat with Kyrie and Luka both out there at the same time. But I just think that they're not gonna blow the doors off of any team and anytime soon. I don't think it's gonna be a pretty drag you through the mud. Defensively, they're not great. Offense, the ball sticks a lot of the times. That's what happens when you have 2 guys that dribble a ton to get their shots. Now, I'm not saying that they're not great players by their own right by doing so, but it's definitely it definitely should be a concern that you know these games are always close, and we need Luka to show up at the end of every single game. And he had to put up 49 the other night to win and to go up by 1 possession with under 30 seconds to go or whatever it was. But still amazing. And the other individual note that I'd like to add on to the Chet Holmgren 7 blocks and Luka's amazing performance the other night is Levine, first 50-point game of the year, if I'm not mistaken, right after the players' meeting, and 51 points and 0 assists. Impressive work, sir, and still got a loss. Sheesh. I mean, what are you gonna do? Bulls look like shit. I mean, I don't really know. I don't really know what else to say. I'm sorry, but I'm glad that Caruso hit that game winner the other night. But if you look at that last possession, and Randy showed this to me, I didn't catch it because I was in the middle of. I think I was working while it was happening, but it's disappointing to know that the guys seemingly don't want to hustle at the end of the games to create problems. Zach LaVine basically, he got the Caruso steal, ran the floor, was going 4-on-1. Caruso fades to the corner. LaVine, little hammer pass around, underneath instead of going up for the layup. Caruso hits it and goes crazy. But during that whole thing, the other 3 Chicago Bulls starters did not cross half court, or maybe one of them did. But I can tell you right now, one guy that did not, and that was Nick Vucevic. Yeah, I mean, cool, man. I get it. You won the game. That's great. But your role as a player that does not have the ball on the break is to occupy space so the defense can't guard one guy with 2 people. I mean, it's and not have to worry about helping off or somebody being open when you're doing that. That's the whole thing. You have to occupy space, so they have to at least consider you an option. And when you're not crossing half court on a break in a do or die situation, what are you doing, man? Go on the bench. Get somebody in there that's going to run a little bit, man. It's just frustrating to watch. As a Magic fan that had to deal with that shit for so many years, I can only imagine what you guys are thinking about right now. So sorry, Bulls, but yeah. All right, that's it for the I guess, the NBA news. I'm not going to cover much else other than the fact that James Harden is still in limbo. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think he's going to end up a Clipper at some point, but as of now, they are out of the talks. And I don't think anybody else is going to be gutsy enough to pull the trigger, but maybe Ballmer will make something happen. Okay. Very exciting. Just want to say congratulations to all the winners this week. And it was a very competitive, despite what some of the scores say, it was a very competitive week. It's a weird week. It's a weird beginning of the season. Waiver wire was hot. People flying off the shelves left and right. And I hope by this time, when the episode comes out, that my guy that I picked up on the waiver wire, Jared Allen, ended up on my team. I'm going to stash him on the IR for a little bit just in case. They say no timetable for return, but I always like having the option of bringing somebody back like that. So if he's available, if somebody dropped him like a goofball who did in our league, see if you can stash him away. Okie dokie. Here we go. Don't mind my Pornhub browser in the other corner here. Let's see. All right. Okay, so just a quick recap. Curry on my wayward son. That is me against Tyrese's pieces. Imran, I took it 5-4. Don't go Jason Waterfalls. Wait a minute. Even though he didn't win, I'll still play him. Nice job. Okay. He got fleeced and feathered by Link this week. Lincoln had a very good week. Again, Lincoln did all this without James Harden. So if he does find a home and a home that treats him right, and vice versa, I think he's going to be a pretty deadly team. I mean, it's insane what's happening, but it is early. There are a lot of guys on his team that are injury prone and always question marks in pivotal moments of the season. So we shall see. But Link took this one this week. Randy Bobanders took an L against Jack, the long neck lifters. He's a big beer guy. Tingus Pingus. Wait, let's get the drop. First time of the year. Who the fuck is Tingus Pingus? I'll tell you who it is. This guy's got a damn good team. 8-1. This was the blowout of the week against Brian. Sorry, buddy. Still got faith in Brian's team. Anytime you have Nikola Jokic, it's going to be a problem at some point. So I'm hoping for a better week for him next week. And then Luka Doncic, as in he didn't spell it wrong. That's his name, Dom. Very nice. That's a good win over Jake, first team all rookie. So let's take a look. Oh no, I need to go forward. Let's take a look at some other stuff. So our top performer of the week in field goal percentage, that was Colby at just over 50%, as you can see right here. Perfect. I need a little pointer. That was Tingus Pingus. Nice job, Tingus. And let's see, free throws. That was Imran. Imran had a great week at the line, 84% on the nose, buddy. Good job. Tyrese's pieces. I took. Let's just get this out of the way. I was the top 3-point, rebound, block, and point getter this week. That's 4 categories, folks. We play in a 9-category league, so that means I only need to swing one more for it to be 5. That is my strategy to you guys. I know that nobody will listen to this and go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. In week 1, I'll take draft advice. But here's what I'll say to anybody that likes to play fantasy sports and wants to take any sort of draft advice from someone who I think I'm pretty good. I think I know what I'm doing. But, if I was in 9 leagues, I'd lose 8 of them and maybe win 1. But anyway, I like to stack 3 categories. So this year in the draft, I wanted to stack threes, I wanted to stack blocks, and I wanted to stack rebounds. Blocks and rebounds typically go hand to hand with guys. Threes, typically, obviously, they go hand in hand with points. So really what I try to do is I try to stack 3 and swing 2 in a 9-category league. If you're in an 11-category league, you would stack 4 and swing 5. Or I'm sorry, stack 5 and swing 4. You know what I mean? Because you got to win. All right, what the fuck am I talking about? Cut this. Jesus Christ. We'll find a place to do that. Because my math sucks so bad, we're gonna do this again. What I like to do in the draft is I like to stack 3 and swing 2. So let's take a look at let's see, where do we go? Assists. That was Jack. That was the long neck lifters with 129. Very nice. A lot of us over 100. I think the only 2 that did not get over 100 assists, which is odd, which is that was Luka Domcic, and Randy Bobanders. Um, Odd that Dom didn't because of Luka's numbers, but we'll see. Maybe he's got a better week coming up next week. 129 for Jack. Top assist steals. That was Link. Going into tonight, he had way less than that, and then Paul George had 5 steals in like the first quarter and a half, which was bonkers. I mean, he was just picking everybody's pockets out there. And let's see, the lowest amount of turnovers, which this is a good category to perform low in because we don't want to give the ball to the other team. That was Randy Bobanders at 47. Everybody else really was up there. A lot of guys in the 70s, mid to high 60s, low 50s. So Randy was the only one that didn't crack 50 turnovers this week. Nice job, buddy. And then I had the most points at 597. Had a lot in the 500s, 514, 522, 514, 518, 519. Yeah, so unfortunately, Jake had the lowest amount of points this week. I don't think that's going to continue. I think it's going to be fine. Got to remember that Chris Paul got moved to the bench because Draymond Green came back and laid a fat egg, but did distribute the ball a little bit. And then John Morant is out right now for the first 25 games. So we got 22 left. So we'll see what happens when he comes back. But I think Jake's team still is a team to watch out for down the stretch because he's going to get a lot of momentum going around that time. Now, let's take a look at the power rankings. So there are 10 teams in this league. What I did was I took everybody's stats, I wrote them down, I matched them up, and I took a look at how many teams you would have beaten this week. Okay. So this is from number 10 to number 1. Number 10 is Brian. Unfortunately, he did not beat any team this week, in any statistic category. So obviously he was matched up against one person. We plugged the stats into the algorithm, which is a legal pad that I wrote them down on. And he did not beat any team in 5 categories, which would give you a win. So we were looking to see if you got to 5 categories. I didn't see how badly you beat the teams. I'm not doing a college football rankings where it's like, oh, you put up 60 against ITT Tech. So that is not as much as putting up 48 against Michigan State or some shit like that. Okay, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that whole thing. So it is simply, I got to 5 and then I stopped counting. So as soon as I got there, if you won that, I gave you a point for it. So Brian, sorry to say, 10th place in the power rankings with 0. I think that's going to change. I got a lot of faith in you, buddy. Anytime you have Jokic on your team, like I said, it's going to be an issue. So keep that up. I'm not throwing any shade your way because I saw what happened last time. I do not want that to happen again. 9th place, we have Jake with 2 wins. He would have beaten 2 teams this week. In 8th place, we have Jesse with 2.5. He actually tied with Randy in terms of total stats together. They didn't match up with each other, but that was just how it lined up. So 2.5 wins for Jesse. In 7th place, we have Dom with 3. He would have beaten 3 teams this week. 6th place, Randy with 3.5. That's the other half. There you go. Imran, he beat 4 teams this week. He is coming in at number 5 in our power rankings. Number 4, Jack with 6 wins. He would have beaten 6 teams. Number 3 with 7 victories. That would be Colby. Number 2, Lincoln has 8 victories, and I beat everybody this week. Every single person was my fucking bitch this week. Look, I'm not saying that because I obviously I would have managed it differently per matchup, and that's what we all have to look at. So these power rankings are loose. Football gives you power rankings and like where your projected finish is versus where you are currently versus the draft. I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to say is how many teams you would have beat with the current stats that you ended the week with. That's it. All right. So just want to give a quick shout out to the mover and shaker of the week. He used all 6 of his acquisitions, Please do that if you're in other leagues. Use every single one if you can and if you feel comfortable. A lot of the times that I've found in leagues that I have run, in this one specifically, and other leagues as well, in other sports, the amount of moves you make is directly correlated to how successful your team is. If you just let your team sit and put it on ice, it's not going to do well, which is exactly what I'm doing with my fantasy football team, because fuck football. I don't fucking like it anymore. It sucks. It's stupid. I'm an idiot, and my team fucking blows. I don't like it at all. Whatever. Fuck it. I'm done. All right. That's it. That's all I'm talking about football. But fuck football, for real. I hate it. I'll never win, and I don't ever want to play again. It sucks. But congrats to all the winners in that league this week, too. Thank you for not making fun of me every single moment that you have free time. I appreciate it. The mover and shaker this week was Lincoln. He used all 6 of his acquisitions. He was on fire. I get pinged with notifications because I like to see, what people are doing, how we're managing, how we're working the waiver wire. He was making a lot of moves, so good job there. And I believe that Jake is our ride or die winner. We may have one other. Let me see if I can take a look at this. The ride or die guys, what I say is, 0 acquisitions. You look at your team, you're like, I don't need it. I'm riding. I'm dying on the hill with this team. I believe Brian and Jake both were 0. And if you remember what I just said a few seconds ago, the success of your team is directly correlated to how many moves you make. And then we can see what happened there. I hope that's right, and I hope I didn't just make a mistake. But it would appear that is the case. We're going to take a look at the scoreboard for the next week. I'm going to give you my predictions. All right, I'm playing against Jack, the long neck lifters, big beer guy over here. Bo Banders and Don't Go Jason Waterfalls. That is Jesse and Randy. They're playing against each other. I'm going to go with Jesse on this. I think he still has a pretty solid team. And no slight to Randy, but this is going to be a good matchup. I mean, they had similar weeks last week in terms of who they were going to beat, so we'll see what happens. Matchup of the week that I'm looking forward to right here is Fleeced and Feathered and Tingus Pingus. Hit me with the Tingus Pingus. Come on, where's my producer at? What the? Who the fuck is Tingus Pingus? He knows who he is. He knows who he is. You better call that man by his right name. Even though he's not on Colby's team, I think it's still very funny. That's going to be my matchup of the week for sure, because they're 2 and 3 in the power rankings currently, as we stated before, and just something to look out for, because both of those guys are very active managers and they have very competitive teams. And maybe we get some James Harden news it's not going to happen, but maybe we do. Maybe we get it before a lot of people think we're going to get it, and it just happens that Lincoln takes off and becomes number 1 in the power rankings. I think he's destined for that if James Harden, again, finds a happy home that appreciates him and loves him for all the mess that he is. Smoking a bowl, Schmerkaberu, where's that one? Come on. Where's my producer? Schmerkaberu from Workaholics. There we go. All right. Still not getting sued. And Luka Doncic. That's going to be an interesting one. Both those guys are pretty low in the power rankings. They didn't have a great week last week. I'm still going Dom here. I think he's got a lot of dogs on his team, but it is going to be close. Brian still has Nikola Jokic. It's still a problem. It's still going to be something to look out for. So that being said, I think this one is going to be close. It's not my matchup of the week because of the where they're sitting in the power rankings currently. But it could be a chance for Dom to get 2 wins in a row against, quite frankly, sorry to say, but, Dom is getting lucky in the beginning of the schedule with guys that have, statistically pretty weak teams. So, Brian, let's prove him wrong, okay? Dom, keep up the good work. I'm staying neutral. I'm got to be the commissioner that stays neutral. Tyrese's pieces and first team all rookie. I'm going to go Imran. Imran had a good week last week, and despite what a lot of people say, he gets a lot of shade in this league. But I'm going Tyrese's pieces, and I think it's going to be a pretty convincing victory. But we'll see. It's not, again, I said this about Jake's team last year. Not the case down the stretch. Long term, I like his team because he's going to get some guys back. Probably, some guys are going to be dealing with injuries. He could get some pretty pivotal and timely victories, but those are my predictions. I don't need to predict myself. I would love to win, of course. I don't think Jack is going to beat me. But maybe we'll put a little side bet on it and see what happens. I haven't even looked at the schedule to see how it's lining up, but we will see. Hopefully by the time this comes out, like I said, I do have Jared Allen on my team and I can really pad the fucking rebounds and snag another victory. But let us say goodbye here. This is it for us. That's week 1. That's NBA news. That's our league news. Thanks for sticking around for the league specific stuff. If you didn't, fuck you. I don't like you either, but comment and tell me you love me because I'm insecure like that. Goodbye. This has been Game Blouses, the podcast that one future single dad called incredibly boring and something that I will never listen to. So I hope you're listening, and I hope everybody has a good week. Set those lineups, work that waiver wire, and let's make it competitive. All right. Sports. Game Blouses. See you guys.
Game Blouses.